Good morning and welcome to this episode of Legally Raven here. This is going to be a really quick video. And the video is about contracts. So I started this thinking I was going to talk about bilateral and unilateral contracts and what is the difference. And then I had to back up because I had to find out what a contract was and what made a contract. So we are once again being sponsored by Bar Exam Drill. So thank you, Sarah, so much for helping us in our journey to pass the bar exam without going to law school. And this is more MBE exam prep so that we really understand the concepts covered in the multiple choice question. So first of all, we need to talk about what is a contract. And I actually need to get us a definition for this, as we know sometimes. So contract legal definition. And let's see if we can find one. Let's go here to Cornell. I like Cornell. And it says a contract is an agreement between private parties creating mutual obligations enforceable by law. All right. So let's add that right here. And then we have something else here to look at. Make it transparent, make it white, make it larger. There's something else here that I'm not sure what that means. The basic elements required for an agreement to be legally enforceable are mutual assent expressed by a valid offer and acceptance, adequate consideration, capacity, and legality. In some states, elements of consideration can be satisfied by a valid substitute. Possible remedies for breach of contract include general damages, consequential damages, reliance damages, and specific performance. All right, so contracts are promises that the law will enforce. So contract law is generally governed by the state common law, and while general contract law is common throughout the country, some specific court interpretations of a particular element of a contract may vary between states. So we're going to do another video about breach of contract and that sort of thing, so we're not going to get into that. This mutual assent, let's just see what that is really quick. Agreement by both parties to a contract. So they have to agree. So let's go back here to our presentation. And now that we have, so a contract is an agreement between private parties creating mutual obligations enforceable by law. All right, so now the elements of a contract are offer, acceptance, and consideration. Let's talk about offer. An offer is made, an offer to do something. So one example is if someone's looking for maybe a photographer for their wedding. Okay, so we see that both Sahara and Rogelio make an offer to take your wedding photos. But we see here, you accept Rogelio's offer to take your pictures and you reject Sahara's offer. So this puts you in a contract with Rogelio. He offered to take your wedding pictures, you accept it. Here you are, beautiful picture there. Now, let's look at consideration. Consideration is really what's in it for me. Each party should be able to answer the question of why they entered into the agreement. Consideration refers to something of value that's being gained through the contract. If there is no consideration for one or more parties, then it casts a shadow of legitimacy on the contract. Is this really a contract if both parties didn't have consideration? So consideration can be determined in a variety of ways. When two or more people to a contract change their position, such as promising something you are legally required to do or promising not to do something that you are legally free to pursue. So an example that FindLaw.com gave is if a company promised to take down a website that was confusingly similar to another company's website. Now, say it's my company, I'm not required to take down that website, but the other company that I am making a contract with, they say, if you take down your website, we'll drop the trademark infringement lawsuit against me. And they have the right to sue me for trademark infringement, right? So I don't have to take down my website, but if I take down my website, the consideration they'll give me is they'll drop the trade infringement lawsuit, and who wants a lawsuit? One of the other things we'll talk about is the importance of consideration. The courts will not reform a contract because one party made a bad bargain, but if the contract was entered to under duress, there may be questions about whether there is adequate consideration. Consideration must be in exchange for the bargain in question. Past consideration is no good. So let's talk about past. What's past consideration? So here we have an example here. FindLaw.com gave us a Dave is working for XYZ Corporation. He has a contract for 1 year, $400,000. 6 months into the contract, Dave is not liking the job. The president offers Dave an additional $20,000 to stay for the full term of the contract. At the end of the year, Dave asks for the extra $20,000, but there's no enforceable contract for the extra incentive pay because under the original contract, David already agreed and was obligated to work to XYZ Corporation for the full year. So the extra pay is not supported by new consideration. Dave is not giving anything that he didn't previously agree to because he agreed to stay here for 1 year, $400,000. If you come back later and say, I'll give you $20,000 if you stay, well, he already agreed to stay for 100,000. So if he went and tried to get that money, there's no enforceable contract. Now, if $20,000 was offered to Dave to take on extra responsibilities or to work Friday nights, and he did, there would be additional consideration to support the change in the contract because now Dave is offering something different. All right, now let's go to our last slide here. Lack of consideration. We're not talking about being inconsiderate here, although we always want to be considerate, but the court at times may declare that a contract lacks consideration if one or the more parties involved, rendering it unenforceable. So a contract may lack consideration if any of the following is true. The promise cannot legally or practically be offered, right? I offer you something that I don't own. That's not enforceable. Offer is made for something that has already been done. Past consideration cannot be bargained for. We had that example in the last slide that FindLaw.com gave us about Dave. Dave cannot get the extra money for the existing work because he already agreed to do it previously. That's past consideration. One or more of the parties agreed to do something that he or she was already obligated to do. Once again, there we have with Dave. And a promise was actually a gift, not something bargained for. So here we go. A short video, less than 7 minutes on what is a contract. Thank you so much for Bar Exam Drills for sponsoring me on my legal journey. And I'm signing off. Ta-ta. Bye. Legally Raven here. Check in next time.